What's your cringy I'm not like other girls story, Viewers Edition? Yeah, we've all probably known someone like this, and apparently quite a few of you knew someone like this because you had some great stories for us in the comments. Let's read a few. Story 1. For me it was perceived as a one of the guys phase, but it turns out I'm just neurodivergent and it wasn't a phase, it was simply my core interests. My high school friends were thankfully really supportive of all my hyperfixations and would willingly join in on the hype for them, whether it was whatever media at the time, or role-playing, or League of Legends, or punk rock and such. But I did also learn during high school that this kind of outward behavior was not appreciated by most other people, so I learned real quick to keep it within my friend circle. After much confusion of why people did not like to hear about what was supposedly non-conventional interests, since I loved hearing about other people's interests even if they didn't align with my own. I don't necessarily cringe at my behavior in the past, but I do reflect on them to see how I've changed in terms of my interest and how I've learned new things since then, and I've come to terms with the fact that I will probably not be able to understand most people and how they choose to behave. It took me a long time to learn that I was, in fact, the weird kid in my grade. But yeah, I'm mostly posting this as nothing is really cringy as long as you enjoyed it. Role players still get bad rep because of all the one-liners and rawr, but it's what made me embrace writing, and it really helped me through tough times as a creative outlet. Another thing I've learned is to stay true to who you are. Don't force yourself to like or dislike things just because you think it's cool. The way other people perceive you won't matter in a few years anyway, so you might as well enjoy what you do, even if it means giving into stereotypes or otherwise. Well, damn, we are starting this video off hot with some really solid advice. I was also a weird kid with weird interests. Tabletop role-playing, video games. That's not that weird anymore these days, but yeah, really just, embrace what you do. And honestly, as you get older, you'll just make more and more friends whose interests align with yours, and you can be more and more out and open with it. The other thing I will say is, while you shouldn't force yourself to like or dislike things, do always be open to trying new things. Sometimes you're going to end up finding stuff that you might have otherwise avoided that ends up being something that you absolutely love. I never would have thought that I was that into woodworking, but I really enjoy the time I spend doing it. Story 2. Not cringe, but a woman I know is into poetry, isn't insecure about her looks and hates society, is absolutely bad A, goes jogging with snow on the streets with only a shirt on, barefoot, and she's the most understanding person I ever met. And now confession time. I think I'm falling in love right now. Update. I have started a religion joke with her now, and it's absolutely hilarious. Update. I randomly started a conversation about pizza with her when I showed her some photos from a New Year's Eve party. Maybe we'll go out and get some pizza soon. Update. We recently started talking about our mental illnesses and trauma more, as we are both very interested in psychology. Usually that's a massive no, but she's actually interested in that stuff. I can literally even trust her with that. Update. More random, wholesome cat video spam. Update. The span of cat memes killed the joke religion. RIP cat holicism. Update. She unironically likes pizza with apple slices on it. Sounds weird as F, but her local pizza place does a lot of weird stuff, even a crust filled with cheese. She's assured me it's good, so maybe that's not another pineapple disaster after all. Update. We will probably just remain friends for a long time. She's absolutely bad A and perfect to talk to about anything, but I guess it just wouldn't really work out. But I still have her in my life, just in another way. I'm not even that sad right now, actually. Update. She just took a break from Instagram for a few weeks. Story 3. Growing up, I was taught that being feminine or mainstream was to be frowned upon, so I always wore baggy shirts and dirty jeans, never brushed my hair, hardly showered. A lot of people mistook me for being homeless. I have a particular cringe memory where in 3rd grade my teacher said, "Stop writing stuff like I like ice cream because it tastes like tacos. It makes no sense and isn't funny." And that made me wise up to my, so random. Part of my not like other girls phase was cringe. Also, figuring out I was attracted to other girls helped me to realize that girls are nice, and so is taking care of yourself. Still building good hygiene habits to this day and trying to develop a nice clothing style. Hey, good for you. And honestly, growing up is all about figuring that stuff out. I don't think it's cringe for anybody to experiment with different stuff, go through phases. I mean, there's just a lot to take in, especially in like high school when you're being introduced to, culture and all these different, budding personalities and ideas. So nothing wrong with that at all. And hey, good luck on the building good hygiene habits. Always a fan of that. And developing nice clothing style. Yo, figure it out. Do what you want. I dress like some kind of hippie cult leader. But I love it. I'm colorful. I'm relaxed. It's a good time. Do you. Figure yourself out. It'll be great. Story 4. Mine was somewhat opposite. I didn't want to wear a dress and everyone thought I was trying to be different and not like other girls. The day of our family photo shoot, my mom made me wear it and was just kind of staring till we got to the place of the photo shoot. The photographer called me pretty and I started to cry. Now I know that I'm a trans guy and was never forced to wear a dress again. Hey, I'm glad that you were able to figure that out and you've got my support. Story 5. I'm still personally trying to get out of this as I've been stuck in the mindset for my entire life. I'm trying to embase my inner basic white girl by listening to Billie Eilish and also accepting that my favorite band isn't going to be unknown forever as its fan base grows. I used to want to be different from what was considered counterculture too, but I realized that I actually had my own life as a young kid and I'm trying to relive my childhood in a sense to make up for some gaps in my memory and find out who I really was/am. Story 6. I've had so many friends like this. First one we'll call Amy. Known her since we were practically babies. We applied to the same program in uni and decided to live together. She spent most of her free time watching anime or playing on her computer. Mostly she just talked to guys online. I always cringe when I hear the pitch of her voice change so suddenly to innocent and highness when she talks to boys. She calls herself one of the boys and gamer girl. Amy also wore band shirts but couldn't name any of their songs. She also said, "I wish I had a small butt like you." Number 2 we'll call Emma. She was the typical emo kid that hates people. She really liked that style and listening to metal/punk, but she always had to bring it up and make fun of other girls who were not as quirky. For instance, she always downgraded me for being a basic B when I couldn't care less about my style and just wore something comfortable or clean, gray, black, white, or stripes. I'm also a very tall girl, about 5'11" or 180 centimeters. Emma is average for a girl, but she always made a point of her being so small it made me feel like a giant. When we hung out, she would ask me about 5 times to put my hand up against hers in a high five to compare so she could take a picture and send to different guys with, "I'm so small." Emma honestly made me insecure about liking certain things, like motivational quotes I had in my room were so lame and my taste in music was basic. She made fun of me in front of boys for these and other things. And always said stuff around guys like, "I wish I could wear jeans, but my butt is too big." Third one we'll call Elena. She's one of the reasons my self-esteem dropped so bad in 6th grade. She started saying things like, "You would be pretty if you wore makeup and flat-ironed your hair." She posted on Instagram a class picture from 3rd grade, I think, and had the caption, "Maya, me, looks like a boy, haha," because I had my brother's old shirt on, which I liked. A few years later, she was, as said by herself, a tomboy. So this is just my interpretation, and I could absolutely be off base, but what this sounds like to me are 3 different women who are still kind of discovering themselves and maybe bringing it up so often and, comparing it to you and even degrading you a little bit because they're trying to cement themselves in who they want to be. They're trying to figure it out, and they need that certainty and bringing it up. It's not necessarily a good thing, and it doesn't excuse degrading you because you should not have to be put through that. You're fine how you are. They're fine how they are. But that is a part of discovering yourself that I've seen a lot of different people go through, so I wouldn't judge it too harshly unless they hang on to that for way too long, because eventually you do need to just find yourself and be comfortable with it and not have to always assert it. Story 7. In 3rd grade, this girl I sat next to in class became really close with me because we weren't like other girls. We were the only girls in our very small class that liked HTTYD at the time. Literally, our only discourse was talking about how quirky we were and how we were so much smarter and better than everyone else. Honestly, we were the most toxic craps. When our classes changed, we stopped talking to each other as much, and literally years later, when I bumped into her again, she was still in that horrible not like other girls phase, in the sense that she crap-talked every girl that walked by. It was actually embarrassing watching it, and most people, myself included, began to back off because it was weird and uncomfortable. She didn't seem to realize that, but I hope she has now. I'm honestly so humiliated at the fact I was once like that, but at least it was when I was a little kid and before I had internet access. Thank God those habits haven't carried over. Story 8. Dude, that is most of my teen years. I denied myself wearing girly things, thought I was special because I liked edgy horror anime, My Little Pony, cartoons, and hated One Direction. I wore some weird things to school. I was the artsy, not like other girls person. I drew edgy art during class, listened to indie music, and so on. As I grew older, entering my high school years, I've slowly unlearned the other girls nonsense. Sadly, at that point, I was too scared to admit I enjoyed normie stuff. It took time to be at peace, simply enjoy what I liked. A lot of these not like other girls things were an expression of my mental health issues. Years have passed, I'm here now, sitting under a Hello Kitty blanket, listening to One Direction and Kesha. The moment you realize there's no such thing as other girls means you grew as a person. The division is pointless. Enjoy whatever you want, dress however you want, stay cool, be kind, be a girl in your own way. Hey, this person gets it, and I like what I'm seeing. That really is the lesson that all of us should try to learn. Not everyone will, unfortunately, but for the rest of us, yeah, like what you like, You can like edgy horror anime and One Direction at the same time. I like a weird eclectic mix of stuff by some standards, but I just accept that I enjoy what I enjoy, and that's fine. I don't care what other people think. Story 9. God, I remember I had this phase when I was younger. I hated the color pink, didn't like skirts, and only wore pants, and kept on claiming to hate makeup. I eventually grew out of it and can't help but cringe every time I think back about it. Right now I have a friend who seems to be going through a similar phase, but I'm not sure if it is. They always comment on how they're crazy and messed up because they never find things like blood or gore gross. I always comment about them being not like other girls girl, but I'm not sure if they're taking that to heart. I do want to say that if there are any girls that are currently going through this phase, no, you're not the only girl who likes black and doesn't listen to K-pop. You can figure yourself out without having to belittle and look down on other girls. Some people like skirts, some people like pants, and there is nothing wrong with that. Story 10. Remembering middle school and high school is painful. I was in the I'm so quirky and random phase to mask the fact that I was actually socially awkward and quiet. I thought in order to make friends and be happier with myself, I needed to act like an anime girl. I even overdid it when a guy everyone said was handsome would walk by even though I wasn't interested. I stopped being like this once I went to a new school in a small town during my junior and senior year. Ironically, acting like my true self actually made me a bit more popular with people. Story 11. I used to be obsessed with being one of the boys as a kid, to the point where the boys tried to make me stop and leave them alone by telling me to do things for them and make them think of me as one of them, which they never did. Things that would get me in trouble at school, with teachers or other classmates. I'm pretty sure they hoped I would just give up so I'd stop getting in trouble. I think this may have started largely because the girls in my class already just didn't like me, but I really don't know since the boys didn't like me either. Well, it also might be because I might be trans, female to male, and just genuinely wanted to be a boy and didn't know how to express that, something I really didn't start exploring about myself until now in my 20s. Hey, that's totally legitimate, and yeah, we all do that stuff in high school and whatever, so certainly don't feel at all embarrassed about that. And if you are exploring the possibility that you may be trans, then I wish you all the luck. It's not a journey I've personally gone on, but I know it can be a little bit difficult. I hope you have people that you can trust and talk to, and just know that you have my full support. Story 12. My middle school music teacher gave us an exercise. We chose a song to sing in front of the class to show what kind of music we liked. We could do that in a group, but my antisocial, not like the others mind was like, nope, So everyone show up singing in a group of 3 to 4 the latest trend song or a really good Michael Jackson song, and here I was all alone singing my heart out to a Vocaloid song. Eku no Meshisukai, Servant of Evil, where I only know half of the lyrics because I originally wanted to sing it in French, native language, but teacher wanted the original. It was bad, but to make it worse, my teacher accidentally, I don't even know how and where, found a cover of someone singing the song but had a way higher pitch than the original and thought it was the original. So imagine a 13-year-old girl who doesn't speak a word of Japanese literally breaking her voice while her teacher kept saying, "Higher!" No wonder why I was bullied back then. Story 13. I have one for this. This girl in the 3rd grade was my biggest enemy. We always pretended to like each other because of the teacher who was an absolute dong. So this girl was a wolf girl, you could say. Very edgy, wanted to be a quiet kid, etc. So this girl came up to me. I was wearing an oversized hoodie that day. When she got to me, she said, "Why are you wearing that?" Of course, I was confused and said, "Listen, just because you try to be edgy doesn't mean you are." She didn't come to school for a long time after that. Story 14. In middle school, I thought I was not like other girls for liking video games as well. But that made me think, I can't like makeup or the color pink or skirts and all girl stereotypes. Fast forward to the last 2 years of high school and I realized that I actually love pink. I want to know how to do makeup, and it turns out I'm actually just non-binary. I feel a lot more free knowing that I can be as masculine and feminine as I please and that I have nothing to prove now. Folks, I've got to say, I am just loving a lot of the positivity in these stories. I know this channel doesn't always have the most positive stories to go to. We read some real wild stuff. But I am loving seeing all of you folks who are figuring things out. And for those of you who haven't figured things out and you're still struggling, I hope some of these are maybe helping you out. Story 15. My angsty preteen self who was in middle school and dealing with more bullies than ever decided it would be a good idea to take a picture of the biggest knife in our house and set it as my phone's background. The type of phone I had also came with the option of adding text, so I decided typing "go away or get killed" would be a good idea. Then the teacher took my phone one day, saw the background, and my dad was called to the school. This was before the 2010s, so the school wasn't worried I'd become a killer or something, they just thought it was unacceptable. No one else learned about what I had on my phone, but I still shake my head when thinking about it. Story 16. My not like other girls phase was being completely anti-girly. I hated pink, anything cute except animals, judged/mocked other girls for trying to be cute around their boyfriend. I truly viewed being female as weak, so I wanted nothing to do with it. My bad haircut and the clothes I wore, people often mistook me for a guy. It wasn't until I saw a really hot waiter and he called me sir did I start to chill out and realize being feminine isn't weak. Story 17. My not like other girls phase wasn't that cringy as I was not very vocal about it, but ever since I was 5, I had this strong, seemingly irrational dislike of any and all things girly. My entire personality was pretty much defined in opposition to said girly things. I wore shorts and t-shirts from the boys section of the store, I had guy friends, I played stereotypically boyish games. Then puberty hit. I started wearing black, baggy clothing, such as hoodies and jeans, all year around. Yes, even when it was close to 100 degrees Fahrenheit outside. I moved on from thinking I was not like other girls to feeling like I was not like other girls. I didn't understand why most girls wanted to wear clothing that showed off their curves and chest, when I wanted to do nothing but hide mine. Turns out that the seemingly irrational reason for not liking girly stuff was gender dysphoria. I wasn't even a girl in the first place. I'm non-binary. Hey, that's totally awesome, and I'm once again very happy to hear a story about someone coming to this positive realization about themselves. But also, I love wearing some baggy clothing and big old hoodies. Throughout the winter, I will wear these big drug rug hoodies because they're just so comfortable. But not in the heat. Oh my goodness. You will struggle to get me wearing anything hot when it is, 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Dear God, if it's 80 degrees Fahrenheit, good luck getting socks on me. Story 18. After I got bullied, I definitely had a not like other girls phase, and I started listening to metal and acting really tough and intimidating in order to be perceived as strong, and it did work actually. People started respecting me and the bullying really cooled off. After leaving school, though, I pretty quickly turned back into my usual happy-go-lucky self who can't take anything too seriously. Although now I'm getting reminded why I was bullied in the first place, because apparently smiling at people is seen as weird and disgusting still. Even though I act probably way more cringy now than I did in middle school, at least I am myself, and that's all that matters. I absolutely agree, though I also notice a number of these stories where people are saying that part of their cringy phase or whatever is listening to metal music, and I like metal. There is nothing cringy about listening to System of a Down or Sleepytime Gorilla Museum or Mastodon. You're allowed to like that and be feminine or masculine or non-binary. Metal can still be cool, I hope. Story 19. Hello, teenage girl here with a story. Not the best at storytelling, so I might edit. A girl in my class who was always loud and blatantly a pick-me had gotten into a fight in the school bus on the way home. I didn't want to get involved, but she was in front of me and was making my ears start ringing, so I lightly tapped her shoulder and told her to quiet down, please. In response to this, she shouts at me and tells me to F off, saying she's got no time for normies. She was eventually expelled for assaulting the bus driver. Story 20. I used to lean into not being like other girls by emphasizing how much I liked school, reading, and even being proper about grammar. I'm realizing I never grew out of thinking I'm not like other girls, but it's only transformed. These days, I focus on the fact that I don't dress like other girls and I don't go out as much. The difference is that I don't think I'm cooler for it anymore, and I recognize that my comparison is actually me wanting to do things more like them. One thing that hasn't changed is that I still think I'm not cool, and they are. I'd love to be able to be more comfortable with what I'm doing and how I'm living my life now. I have a friend who encourages me to indeed go out and do these things that I seemingly want to do, but I don't quite think that's the solution. Story 21. I was a child who was obsessed with pink and princesses, but then I got a little older and had a not like the other girls phase, where I suddenly hated anything too girly. I tried to start going hunting with my dad and partook in other activities that I thought would make me look tomboyish. I told everyone that I hated pink all the way up until high school, where I rediscovered my appreciation for it. However, I never cringed over this story since A, I still think gender stereotypes are BS, and B, my redneck family really did say a whole lot of sexist stuff growing up. It's not that I ever wanted to be so cool, it's that I thought I had to do it to earn respect from my family. I don't blame myself. Forget building reputations. Just do what you like. As someone who grew up as the Minnesota equivalent of a redneck, I get this. I was the theater kid, the dramatic one and the flamboyant one of a fairly normal, rednecky family. I don't want to say too rednecky because my mom and plenty of my siblings do not fit that stereotype whatsoever, but there's some comparisons to be made, so I get that. I definitely tried to fit in. I remember trying to go hunting with my parents a few times and stuff like that. Wasn't really for me. Story 22. My entire time in middle school, I was a toxic white girl who couldn't fathom that mental health was real, so I said to my best friend, who was struggling with an ED at the time, "If you think you look bad, how do I look in your eyes? Like a whale?" I hate myself, laugh my butt off. High school comes around and suddenly, guess who's starting to realize she has some mental health issues of her own. High school was just a downfall, to be honest. Grades were getting worse and the depression was hitting hard. I was humbled finally. And the relationship with my bestie somehow grew from toxic to incredibly healthy, laugh my butt off. Out of school now and we work together. In a way, we were sort of balanced each other out. I've become timid and she's become a bit more confident and fierce, and I love that about her platonic soulmate. For real, for real. Story 23. I remember once when I was younger, it became a trend in my grade to crush on fictional characters. Had a friend really into anime who would tell me to look up characters she crushed on, so I lied about being interested in them. At one point, I wanted so badly to have my own crush on a character because I thought it would make me more unique and not like other girls, because apparently other girls crush on real boys, and try to gaslight myself into thinking I like some random character I never heard of. Snapped out of it after 2 months. Story 24. The "I am not like other girls just to be different" stereotype makes me worry sometimes when describing myself or my interests online. I am female. I do like a lot of things that my peers back in school thought to be boys' interests. Action movies, knights, liked wolves more than bunnies. I also never wore makeup to school and felt rather dressed up for our exam celebration when I wore a dress, had my hair done, and wore makeup. I didn't start these interests just because I wanted to be different. I just couldn't find a liking in romance novels. I found castle playsets way more interesting than princess-themed stuff. I wasn't forced to be different either. My parents just let me choose my Christmas wishes and complied with me wanting Playmobil knights and didn't force me to buy girly clothing. I'm also well aware that I'm not the only one like that and that I'm neither worse nor better than other people. But yeah, even writing this, I can already see people typing "I'm not like other girls" replies. I feel a lot of times while being different just for show isn't really mature behavior, people get accused of this unjustifiably. There are enough situations where describing one's interests and appearance is relevant, granted, or even necessary for a story or introducing oneself. Well, if it's any consolation, I think you're just fine. And yeah, there are always going to be people who judge you for having different interests and will call you out for it for some reason. I've experienced it, I'm sure lots of other people have, but as long as you're just being honest with yourself, that's fine. And heck, even if you aren't, even if you do try and overplay it and get people to notice, we all do those kind of things. It's fine. It's part of discovering yourself and figuring things out. As long as you're not, crappy about it and making other people feel bad, that's part of life. Story 25. My story is basically with boys, as a boy myself, and it lasted too many years to count. I felt I was not like other boys because I didn't raise hell with the teachers and didn't play video games. Bro, when crap hit the fan, that I was in fact the worst you could think of. It made me think twice. I now have very low self-esteem and have never had a functioning relationship, and I am still more friends with girls than boys. I think I'm still going through a cringe phase right now because I have such low self-esteem and the fact that most of the students hated my guts just for basically existing. I always feel as if I'm being judged right behind my back, and my best friend has told me that they are. I'm also more parental with even adults on how they spend their money because I grew up poor and had few to no popular shoes, and my family barely had the money to even get out of the poor country we lived in. The fact that everyone else was wearing name brands and actually good-looking outfits made me very wary about myself. And so when I get my money, I'm very wary of spending it, and I would very vocally tell them if they're spending way too much money on dumb things or not. Like my grandmother spending $196 at Dollar General, most of the money on cheap decorations. I blame myself and my mother because I'm very skittish about how I spend my money to where I won't even have my bank account be under $100 because I actually want to live a good life and hope others do as well. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.